Linked list. Linked list is a sequence of data structure which connects to links. Each link contains a connection to another link. Linked list is the second most used data structure after the others. Now we're going to learn about the linked list terms. What are the terms? Each element of linked list can store a data element called an element. Next means each link of a linked list contains a list to the next linked list called next, and linked list contains the connection link to the first link called first. So here we must know what is meant by element, next, and first. This is what is we are mentioning something about element. This is the element, data item element. The next field is the field which contains the address of the next node. It contains the access of these elements. Okay, then this is the first element address. Okay, this is what is called first. Okay, next, linked list contains a link element called first. Each link carries the data field and the link field called next. This is what is called link field next. Okay, each link is linked with the next link using the next link. Okay, last link carries the link as null to mark the end of the list. This is what is this we are mentioning, that is, it is last link carries the null link. Why? Because it marks the end of the linked list. The types of linked list, there are three types: simple linked list, double linked list, circular linked list. Simple linked list means it migrates forward only, and double linked list means it migrates forward and backward. And circular linked list means first element is connected to the next element and the last element is connected to the first element. This is what is called circular linked list. It operates the circular way, so let's see in the data. What is meant by basic operations? There are basic operations are insertion, deletion, display, search, and delete. Okay, over here saying insertion means adds an element at the beginning of the list. Deletion means deletes an element at the beginning of the list. Display means display the complete list of a linked list. Search is an element using the given key is called search, and delete means deletes elements using given key. Given key address how it is, we have to delete element. So insertion operation, adding an element is not one step activity. So first there is only two elements, data item 1 and data item. Consider this data item 1 and this data item 2, and this is the data item 3 we are going to insert here. Okay, first data item 1, the next field will be directly connected to the data item 2. So we are adding data item 3 and the next link of data item 3 will be connected to the data item 1. So the next step, we are deleting a link between the first element data item 1 to the data item 2 and establishing the connection between the data item 3. So out of the final result, this happens: data item 1, data item 3, data item 2. Okay, the new node is added here. So I'm saying this is an example. This is data item 1, this is data item 2, and this is data item 3, and data item 3 is added in the middle of the linked list. This happens using the insertion operation of the linked list. So now deletion operation. First data item 1, 2, and data item 3. So we are going to delete the data item 2. First we delete the link between the data item 1 and data item 2 and connect the data item 1's next link to the data item 3. So in the next step, we just can discard the data item 2 connection with the data item 3 connection. So the items has no link and it will be deleted, and the final result will be data item 1 and data item 3. This is what happens in the deletion operation. So double linked list. It's a variation of linked list in which navigation is possible in both ways. that is forward, forward, and backward. Okay. Link. Each link in a linked list can store a data called an element. Okay. This is an element. And the next, each link of a linked list contains a link to the next link called next. This is what is next. Each link of the linked list contains link to a previous link called previous. This is what is called previous link. In this previous link, it shows a null. In terms of first element, the previous link shows the null element, and in terms of last element, the next element shows the null. This is it shows the end of the linked list, and in the previous element shows the null, means it shows the beginning of the linked list, double linked list. Double linked list contains the link called first and last. Okay. Each element carries a data field and a field called next, and each element carries the next link using the next link. Each element is linked to its previous link using its previous link, and the last link contains the link as null to mark the end of the list. Also, the first elements also linked to the previous link will be linked to the null element, which shows the beginning of the linked list. Okay. And the basic operation: insertion, deletion, insert last, delete last. Insertion means adds an element at the beginning of the list, and deletion means deletes an element at the beginning of the list. Insertion last, add an element at the end of the list. Delete last, delete an element from the end of the list. Insert after means adds an element after an item of the list. Delete means deletes an element from the list using the key. Delete, display forward, display the complete list in a forward manner. Display backward, displays the complete list in a backward manner. So here we come about circular linked list. It's a variation of linked list in which first element points to the last element, and the last element points to the first element. So both single linked list and double linked list can be made in a circular linked list. So here we are saying this first element is connected to the next element, and the next element is connected to the last element, and the last element directly connected to the first element. So there's a circular format happens. So why this happens? Because we have to reduce the redundancy problem. That is redundancy problem in the sense, if the data will be deleted, the space is not used by the another element. The space will not be released. For this purpose, we are using the circular list. So double linked list. Double linked list are circular. In the double linked list, the next pointer of the last node to the first and the previous pointer to the first node to the last makes circular by both directions. Here it says the previous or the first element points the previous of the last element, and the next of the last element points the previous of the first element. Then here itself it's a doubly linked list. Doubly linked list that is in circular format. Okay. So this is the basic operations: insert, delete, and display. Insertion element is start of the element. Delete means deletes an element from the start of the list, and display means display the list. Thank you.